You are writing your own story. You're writing your own book. You are writing your own evolution. And your own evolution is the most interesting part about you. The best way to think about this, in my opinion, is when you think about the aesthetics of what you look like. Like, it's so interesting the face that you were born with. It's so interesting the body that you were born with. But the most interesting part about you is how you are evolving with the choices that have been handed to you, with the product that's been handed to you. It's like, are you working on your fitness? Are you working on your skincare? Are you continuously evolving into the best version of yourself? Or think about an artist. It's not really interesting like their one piece. What's interesting is their evolution of their pieces, or a relationship. It's interesting to hear how they met, but what's really interesting is to hear how they've created a strong relationship of 10 years. How they've been devoted after struggling through hardships and continuously being devoted to each other. Like, that's the most interesting part about someone, is their own evolution story. And I wanted to make this YouTube video just speaking about evolution and what's evolved for me in the past 5 years of being a coach, and what's evolved in my own awareness, what's evolved in my own belief system around different holistic healing modalities, and how to spark this evolution within yourself, because we all need some evolution. One of my mentors, she says, you get paid to evolve. And I'm like taking this on as this is one of my sayings that I want to say now, because it really is so true. The more that we can evolve, the more that we can showcase to the world, to ourselves, that we are showing up to the best version of ourselves, the more we're going to get rewarded in that. And so when I look at the evolution of myself, really quick, the earlier parts of my years, I started my whole life in insomnia. I had insomnia from my entire whole life. And then at 11, it got so bad that I went to a healer. And that was my first experience doing yoga nidra. And it helped me a lot at 11 years old. And then I went through, the rest of my life and kind of just was going through life kind of healthy, kind of trying to do meditation. And I ended up in a really high powered job in finance. And I was working lots of hours, working two different jobs because the finance job didn't provide enough money. But it was like I knew it was going to create such a good experience for me. And I ended up burning out. I ended up not feeling great. I had to really devote myself to take care of myself. I started going to meditation classes in New York. When I had my finance job, I was working in Midtown Manhattan and partying a lot, honestly. Like, I was not taking care of myself. And I had this dream to build something massive and have this full life. And I have no problem with partying and living a big life, but I was taking on too much without the proper tools that would help me. Like, I didn't have the tools of breath work. I didn't have the tools of knowing how to take care of myself. And so I ended up having a period where I was totally burnt out. And from there, I started working in startups in an ergonomic e-commerce startup. It's very, very niche. Working with startup desks or standing desks, selling them on Amazon. And, I had that same mentality of, we are going to be very driven and hustling, along with this energy of, we're going to bring ergonomics into it. And if you're familiar at all with ergonomics, it's the study of natural human placement. So this looks like standing desk. This looks like the natural positioning of how you are on your car, like why things are placed different ways. So I started operating in this sensibility of, we're building something massive. We're building this startup. We're building these relationships, these new relationships that I was creating. And I also was a huge, huge backcountry skier. And so I had this very like driven edge, passionate edge. But I also had this part of me that I started learning that the more natural we can be, the more optimal we can be. So this looks like moving your body more. This looks like having whole foods in our body. And I continued in this job for a while and eventually started working for a sleep startup. And this was about 6 years ago. I started working as a sleep consultant. And I worked with insomniacs and creatives, entrepreneurs who struggled with sleep. And people came to me with the most wild stories that you could have ever imagined, because these were people coming into sleep labs who were kind of on their last limb of not being able to sleep. I had, I remember specifically a postpartum mother coming to me who hadn't slept in like 4 months. And imagine what that does to someone. Personally, I went through an insomniatic period where I didn't sleep for I slept like 4 to 3 hours a night for a month and a half ish. And I started hallucinating. I started seeing things. I started hearing things. My body literally started breaking down. And so I went into these sessions, and not all of them were super intense, by the way. Some of them were just like, oh yeah, I know that if I improve my sleep, then I'm going to do better. But some of them had these intense stories of, you know, like, this is a make or break moment where we're going to have to change, and this is not going to be a comfortable change either. And so my philosophy shifted a little bit, and I evolved in my philosophy even more, because I started learning all of this really scientific knowledge about sleep and what's possible for you. And I was always interested in the science back when I was working in ergonomics, and I actually went to a lot of biohacking conferences. If you're familiar with Bulletproof, the company, I don't know if you guys remember that Bulletproof coffee that was around for so long by Dave Asprey. I went to all of his conferences, got certified as a coach through that company, and started working with people in holistic healing kind of in the back end while I was doing that e-commerce startup. Program was life-changing because it held all the holistic processes that are really important. Like it shared what holistic foods to eat, what meditations to do, how to align your body, how to align your mind. And yeah, so I was doing that in the background while I was in my e-commerce startup and while I started doing the sleep consulting. And so I already had this very scientific, this very holistic perspective on how to do things. And then when I started meeting people in these very dire situations through insomnia, I recognized that there is such a deeper part of this. Like, the people who really need that psychological help, and we all end up being in some parts of it. Some of us go into really, really deep ends of it, but we all have this deep shadow about ourselves that is not always comfortable to confront. And this part of us who feels like something's totally wrong with us, who feels like there's something so messed up, how I can't be lovable, how I'm never going to be enough, how this life is overwhelming. And that's what I really, like, my philosophy kind of evolved into, that is really holding space for that shadow part of ourselves and that kind of existential feeling, like existential dread of what's happening and what really happens when your body completely declines and is not able to keep up with what you are building. And I started doing deep meditation with all of my insomnia clients, and that ended up being the most beneficial thing for everyone, because that's how I ended up healing my own insomnia. The insomnia consulting that I did, we tested so many different parts of your brain, of your body. We did hair mineral analysis, we did cortisol testing, we did hormone testing, we did I'm forgetting too. We did two others, thyroid and I can't remember the last one. But yeah, something with blood. So we did a lot of testing. That was my job, is to work with these people and look at their testing and see if we can provide supplements and coaching to improve their life. And alongside that coaching, I was doing meditation with my clients. And I saw such a crazy increase because this is actually how I healed my own insomnia, through hypnotherapy. That's ended up being the thing that really, really helped me, was hypnotherapy and breath work. Specifically just having these tools. Like I said, I didn't have those tools. I didn't know that those tools could actually help me. And so I started, not only, I still had that drive from back in the day when the finance and the startup, and I had that holistic understanding of this is the natural, optimal way to do things. And then I had this space holding of this shadow world and being able to understand that we actually can hold these deeper, more darker parts of ourselves. And then I had this another understanding that was like, oh, interesting. When we get to this brainwave state in meditation and make simple suggestions through breath work, through hypnosis, we can actually completely change how we sleep, completely change how we think, how our chronic pain shows up, how we're actually building what we want to build. And I was freaking mind blown. I was like, I had been meditating for a while too. I had been doing simple uh, meditation twice a day, 20 minutes. And I had been meditating for a while, and this really, really helped my insomnia. But when I started adding those simple hypnotherapy, breath work, along with a shadow work coach who really helped me see a mirror in who I was, an energetic understanding of how I was showing up and what was happening for me, everything shifted. Like, I really have not had an insomniatic spell since I started implementing breathwork and hypnosis. Since I started understanding my shadow and being comfortable with myself more. And I don't want you to get from this evolution that you can change your sleep. I want you to get from this evolution that I had to find multiple pathways, and my evolution is continuously growing. And that, when I started understanding hypnosis and breath work, that's been about 5 years now. When I first started, I thought that hypnotherapy and breath work, like, I thought I had to go down this woo woo spiritual path. I'm like, yes, let me be, all is one. I'm so zen. And yeah, I'm zen as fuck, y'all. But something that has been part of my own evolution is recognizing I can go down these pathways of learning hypnosis, these more spiritual pathways, and not need to become this spiritual hippie. Like, I tried on the spiritual clothing for a little bit. It is not for me. I don't like the spiritual clothing. I tried to do sound healing, and I'm okay with that, but what I'm really about is simple breath work and simple hypnosis and acting in authenticity, because that's what I've found is the most grounded and true thing for your evolution. So that's what works for me. So basically, like, what I'm saying is I went through these very spiritual processes, and not only hypnosis and uh, breath work. I went through tantra. I went through uh, what do you call it? Your family constellation therapy, where you look at your past stories with your family and see how that's affected you. And I went through parts work and all these deeper modalities. And I think that there's a lot of value in going through these very deep and spiritual parts of yourself. But the difference in where I started and where I am now is that I don't allow myself to get consumed by it. I think previously I was like, oh, I want to wear the spiritual garb and I want to only be listening to spiritual stuff, and like I need to burn down what I have built and start over. A lot of shadow workers and a lot of people who are in this more dark edge of psychology and spirituality, there's like this sentiment of we need to burn down who we are. We need to really release who we are. But I think the biggest permission slip that I gave myself recently is not needing to burn down anything. Like, I don't need to burn down who I was. And I actually went through some of my photos from earlier, like 6 years ago ish. And I'm like, I'm the same girl. We're just a little bit more evolved. Like, we're not crazy evolved. I'm not wearing like purple hair and a tutu. I'm wearing a similar outfit. I'm just a little bit more elevated. And that's what I think the biggest permission slip in my evolution has been, is you don't need to burn it down. You just need to continuously evolve a little bit more, a little bit more. And yeah, that's been my evolution, is really understanding that I can continue to evolve. And this next season, what I see for me is really becoming even more. I've been refining, I've been building, I've been healing. Those were my past stories. Like in my sleep consulting era, I was still healing like crazy. I was still healing my chronic pain. I was still healing parts of my insomnia. I was still healing my digestive system. I was still healing my alignment. And then I started building my company, and that was such a healing process. Like, doing social media is shadow work on steroids, I swear to God. Being visible in who you are, speaking your truth, building a brand. I really don't think it is a strategy thing. It is truly like, that is a psychological and an evolutional and a transformational experience of growing a company. And I've seen the back end of hundreds of companies, by the way. And all of them have different strategies. All strategies work. All branding strategies work. All strategies work. But what doesn't work is when you don't show up as yourself, when you don't show up as evolved. And now I'm in this season where it's really about the refinement. It's really about the becoming, of stopping studying the greats, I'm no longer going to be a nerd who studies the greats. I am the one who makes it happen. I am the one who rewires what's possible for me, rewires my own standard, and builds something that is so inevitable. This empire that holds my company, that holds my relationships, that holds my peace. And I'm not, like, one of the biggest things that I want to see in my evolution is I want to see all of these things grow together. Like, I no longer want to choose. I no longer want to choose that this is just going to be a season of financial growth. No, this is also going to be the season of the best relationship ever, and the most connected health ever, and all the goodness without overwhelm, because I am showing up for myself. We can have it all. We really can. But we have to know when we start getting overwhelmed. We have to know when to stop looking at the shame, too. I think a lot of overwhelm happens because we beat ourselves up in, you could be doing this better, you could be doing that better, or confusion. Oh, I don't know what's next because there's lack of clarity. You're not confused. There's nothing wrong with you. It's time to slowly refine what you are doing and evolve into your next season. And I want to finish this off by asking you guys, if you were writing a book about your life, what would be the next chapter? Like, imagine you are on the big screen right now and like you're about to walk around the corner. What would you be yelling at her to do? Don't go into that door. Don't do it. Go this way. Go this way. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. There's lots of things going on in my world. Please like this video and check out the links below. I'm sending you so much love. If you want to be in my meditation membership or in my coaching community, I'll put the links down below. Sending you guys lots of love.